Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My. Even the National Party can learn. Mr. Speaker, the Minister said that he will be very keen to hear industry views. Well, do you know when this bill started, Mr. Speaker? It wasn't back in 2004. It was actually back in 1997, 98 if I recall, when the National Party in its wisdom thought it should impose border cost recovery on the tourism industry, that everyone should pay when they came into this country. Mr. Carter remembers, Mr. Williamson remembers, and you know what happened, Mr. Speaker? Because in their usual arrogant way, they introduced a bill, like they're doing now, thought they could ram it through, and do you know what happened? The industry took out an injunction. They took out an injunction, and the industry won, Mr. Speaker. The tourism industry beat the national government then because their proposals to introduce border cost recovery were in fact unconstitutional. There had been no consultation. They were simply going to, as they do so often, impose a tax on tourists into this country. Well, time moved on, Mr. Speaker, and what we said to the tourism industry prior to the 1999 election, we said that was a stupid move by the national government, and indeed it was. We accepted that there should be cost sharing, and we then committed to go through a proper process of consultation. Mr. Williamson knows this is true, and we did. And we arrived at a deal where the Crown should cover the costs of biosecurity and customs, and passenger and the industry should cover other costs of custom clearance, which is a fair deal. So there was some issue about how this should be applied to new airports. And we've had, since that time, of course, we've had Rotorua open up, Invercargill open up, and in fact they won't be covered by this bill, as Mr. Williamson says. So I guess the question is, how many airports might this apply to? Because I think most sensible people would say, and I have been an advocate for a long time for the tourism industry, we probably don't need any more international airports because, you know, we're starting to kind of spread out a bit. And even Rotorua, my good colleague Steve Chadwick here, and myself, who advocate for Rotorua because it is a key tourism destination, there are issues around the level of biosecurity protection, and a whole lot of other things. We don't need a proliferation of international airports. The National Party finally figured out that they've got to talk to the industry if you come and impose a tax on them. Otherwise, you'll be taken to the cleaners, taken to the court, and this will be thrown out. The question I have, Mr. Speaker, in learning that lesson, why are they demanding that this be rammed through the Select Committee? They didn't learn the lesson about ramming it through Parliament and getting stopped. They now want to ram it through the Select Committee, and it's taken over 10 years to get.
I regret to interrupt the member, but it's gone